What is up, everybody? How are you doing today? It is Friday, October 9th. We just finished a pretty good fantasy football-wise game. Thursday night football, the Broncos versus the Bears. Buccaneers versus the Bears. And the Bears pulled it out. But anyways, welcome to the Fantasy Tap. My name is Michael, and this is John. We are here to give you the fantasy football knowledge.
Yeah, that was a pretty decent game for a handful of players. The quarterbacks didn't get too much work in, but if you were actually sitting there watching it, it was kind of a sleep show. Surprised that we're both awake to do the show right now. But nice to see everyone. Hope everyone's excited for their last show of the week before we move on to our Sunday games. And then we'll see you guys again Sunday for our start sits. But I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. We've got the weekend roundup going over every single game, talking about players we're going to fade, players we're going to play, players we're on the fence about. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But before we do, we are drinking on the Scattered Sun by Southbound Brewery out of Savannah, Georgia. If that sounds familiar, it's because we had one of their other beers on. Probably one of our first couple weeks.
Yeah, first handful of shows.
So, and that was a great beer. Which one was it again? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Mountain Jam?
Yes, it was the Mountain Jam. But this is a Scattered Sun. I haven't taken a sip yet, so.
Oh, I like it.
I
think that's why. I think this is the one that I grabbed first because this is the one I like the most. And then they had the Mountain Jam as well, so I grabbed that one too.
Sweet. Very good. Nice orangey taste. It is a Belgian style wheat beer, so you'll get that orangey, citrusy flavor.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Tastes really
sir.
good.
But anyways, let's jump into our question of the day real quick. Pretty interesting. We were on Twitter earlier, and somebody asked about a trade they were doing. It involved Devontae Parker and Justin Jefferson. So our question of the day is will Devontae Parker outperform Justin Jefferson rest of the season, or will Justin Jefferson outperform Devontae Parker rest of the season? A half PPR league.
So personally, I'm gonna have to go from the take and say that I think that barring any injuries, because I do think Devontae Parker does carry a slight injury risk week in, week out that we've seen, always carrying a questionable tag leading up. I think Devontae Parker is a better and safer pick, who I do think they're going to finish relatively close to each other, while Justin Jefferson's still finding his role in that offense. He's had 2 great weeks, but you're going to see some rookie mistakes happen. You're going to see some slow weeks from him. Devontae's been in that offense, and the only main thing I'm really afraid of is what in that transition when they do go to Tua, who is he going to be looking to? Is Devontae Parker the type of player, or is he going to be going to someone like Preston Williams, who's a little bit bigger of a body, can just come down with a little bit worse of a pass coming to him, to go to Gesicki, or does he play more with his pass-catching running backs?
That'd be fun.
It would be. But personally, I would definitely take Devontae Parker to finish a little bit higher rest of season over than Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You stole the words right out of my mouth. Justin Jefferson is going to have a solid couple of weeks. That's why he's one of my starts of the week this week. And the next few games are looking great for him. So I'm very hyped about him and his career. Picked him up in a few dynasty leagues because I'm very excited for him. I think I think he's going to be one of the top 3 receivers in this draft class. As far as their whole season, as far as their whole career goes. But I do think that Devontae Parker, like you said, barring any injury or anything like that, will finish slightly ahead of Justin Jefferson. But Jefferson will definitely put in some solid games. But I will lean the Devontae Parker route. So something we can agree on. I like that. It's fun. It's good.
It's nice when it happens.
Yeah. It has been happening a little bit too much lately.
A little too much.
But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into our news for today. Of course, the biggest news, we talked about it a lot yesterday, COVID affecting football. The Titans-Bills game has been postponed until next Tuesday, as long as there are no more positive tests. So let's keep an eye out on that one. If you're a commissioner in your leagues, have those rules in place now, kind of like we were, looking at last week in case they don't play, because that's there. I mean, it's still a possibility they don't play.
Yeah, it's moved back to Tuesday. If they continue to have positive results come in, especially if it happens either Sunday or Monday, they're definitely just going to move the game back and cancel it. And at that point, it's going to be too late. You're already going to miss out on the opportunity to start players. So you're going to want to have those rules in place today. If you're the commissioner, sit down for 2 minutes and figure out what you want to do. It is your league at that point, but get some group votes in, maybe make it a democracy.
Yeah, definitely make it a democracy. You don't want anybody feeling like they're being bullied or being pushed, not bullied, I guess, being pushed around, because there is money involved in this.
Well, yeah, but if you're trying to implement emergency COVID rules to allow players to start other players, you may not have time to sit down, have everyone vote, get everyone's votes in when you've got until Sunday now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, hopefully they do play. A lot of Josh Allen shares, Stephon Diggs shares for us. So I'm hoping they play, keep our fingers crossed, keep an eye out for that. Obviously, it'll be, all around. You can follow us on Twitter. We'll keep you updated at the Fantasy Tap regarding that. Also, Patriots-Broncos game. That's been moved from Sunday to Monday night because they had Stephon Gilmore test positive. I don't believe there are any more positive tests today. I'm sorry, going back to the Titans, there were two today. Mm-hmm. One from yesterday that was unconfirmed and one today. But the Patriots have not had any extras or anybody else test positive, which is a good sign. So hopefully they can move that game to Monday night as well and move forward to play. Now, Le'Veon Bell, he did return to practice Wednesday, and according to Adam Gase, which we don't trust, he looked good.
What does that mean?
He looked good.
Okay, Adam Gase doing his coach thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
That's about the extent of his knowledge.
I don't. Yeah. Adam Gase is not a good coach. Don't know him as a person, but I maybe not be a good person either. I don't know. But there is some hope that he is going to play Week 5. John, are you starting Le'Veon Bell at all this week?
No, I mean, we're looking into Thursday now, past the Thursday practices, and he still hasn't been a full participant, still being a little bit limited. And was, like we said before, splitting that backfield with Frank Gore even before getting hurt. So, no, I'm not going to take the risk on him coming directly back into this.
I think if you're forced to, he doesn't have a bad matchup. If you're forced to, but see if there's somebody else out there on the waiver wire, maybe like a Damian Harris, somebody who's okay. Would you play Chase Edmonds over?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, I think I would too. I kind of like Chase Edmonds this week. So if you have to, you can play him. He does have a pretty good matchup, but definitely not something I'm out there looking to actively. Someone I'm not looking to actively play. Moving forward, Calvin Ridley, he was running routes in practice on Thursday, but was limited. So keep an eye out on that. Julio Jones did not practice again on Thursday, so I don't think he's going to be playing, to be honest. And even if he does, I'm not playing him. Got burnt last week. Well,
got burnt more if you're a Calvin Ridley owner.
Yeah, that really hurt. But I definitely think that Julio Jones, I'm not playing at least for a couple weeks. They need to just dial him back. They tried to do too much last week and re-aggravated that hamstring injury. John Brown, did you see the video?
No, I didn't.
So he had the calf. I know he had the calf injury, but I guess, was it his hamstring or his calf today?
I thought it was hamstring.
Okay. Well, he caught a pass in the end zone. It was on video. I guess it was like one of the last portions of media availability today, and you could see him. He caught the ball, did the little toe tap in the end zone, but then just pulled up right after that and started limping. Wasn't very pretty. So hopefully he's ready to go for the Tennessee game. But if not, a couple names on that roster you could be looking for, or a name, Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis. I'm surprised you didn't go Cole Beasley there.
Well, he's questionable too, so.
Well, he returned in full today, actually.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't read that. Okay, good. Well, Cole Beasley, he's a great start as well.
Yeah. No, I think so too. Yeah, sad to see John Brown. He's been having a really hot week, really hot season so far.
Yeah,
But he has been moving into each week with an injury designation. So pre-game time, just something you're going to want to look at. But Zach Moss continued his streak of being limited at practice while Cole Beasley was practicing in full.
Oh, I read that now.
Yeah. And then Terry McLaurin again was limited at practice on Thursday. And then some big news coming out of LA.
Dun, dun, dun.
Justin Herbert was announced the permanent starting quarterback and not just a replacement for Tyrod Taylor. Great to see. The offense has been moving very well and actually been really fantasy relevant.
Very.
So really happy to see that. Was really not excited to see Tyrod possibly come back, especially after Justin Herbert's gotten off to such a good start.
Yeah, Keenan Allen's back in the offense, which is great. He didn't have the best week last week, but he didn't at least put up 30 points like he did the week before, but he's getting the targets, which is great. He's getting double-digit targets each week.
He got screwed because part of the reason he didn't get those yards in that big game he did was because you had the two other receivers get those 2 one-play touchdowns for 50 yards.
Guyton, yeah.
Which eliminate all those yardage and all those plays and kills the drive immediately for at least Keenan Allen. And that's not something that you're going to be seeing all the time, so Keenan Allen's still looking good.
Got double-digit targets 3 weeks in a row. Love it.
And something that's might be helping that, Mike Williams is not at practice again today on Thursday. And then some news coming from the coaches. Austin Eckler will be out in week 5, but they've still not added him to IR, which means that this may not be a long-term injury. They were talking about him possibly looking back at practice next week and seeing but getting him evaluated and seeing how he's looking. So someone you're just going to want to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're not dropping him.
Oh, no.
You're not dropping him. I know, some people did drop Le'Veon Bell, I know, when he was injured, and a couple other running backs, that caliber, but you're not dropping Austin Eckler no matter
yeah, because
what.
then someone's gonna take that bench spot and just hold him until he's ready to go again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's worth that bench spot if you don't have an IR on your roster.
Deebo Samuel was not at practice today due to an illness, and Jimmy Garoppolo and Raheem Mostert both practiced today, but in a limited fashion. So hopefully they can get some game time in. I personally really, really need Jimmy Garoppolo to get his butt in there.
John and I are playing this week.
Yeah, my quarterback. I had Dwayne Haskins and Teddy Bridgewater the past 2 weeks.
Superflex league, and he's playing Brandon Cooks in that Superflex. It's okay. He has a chance. Rojo balled out tonight. So, how do you feel about Deebo?
I mean, if he's out with an illness this week, he didn't look bad last week, it being his first week back, but he didn't really do anything spectacular. I wasn't really hyped into playing him this week anyways. I just see a low ceiling for him, and a really low floor, so I'm still not too hot on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm playing him personally in one of my leagues as a flex player. I think he's got a very high ceiling this week. We'll get into it a little bit more when we talk about the Dolphins San Fran game, but I think he's got a super low floor, like potentially 0 points. Mm-hmm. But I do think he's got that big playability. So I do
personally, for me, it has something to do with who's quarterbacking.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, could play into it as well. Kareem Hunt and OBJ were limited. Kareem Hunt with the groin injury, OBJ with the toe injury. So keep an eye on that. Joe Mixon, he was added to the injury report on Thursday with a shin injury. So after that big game, you can keep an eye on it, see what happens, see if he practices today and what how much he does and what his designation is. Laviska Shenault had his snap counts limited in practice with Coach Doug Marrone stating that he has a chance to play Sunday versus the Texans. A lot of people are hot on him. I think he could have a great game this week. At least a flex game. Maybe potentially even lower end wide receiver 2 numbers. So keep an eye on that. Make sure,
Yeah, if you're playing him, you're definitely going to want to check in before game time to make sure that he is playing and he is healthy. Like you said, he's been a moderate flex play week in, week out so far. So if he does play, he should be able to keep that streak going.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson did miss practice again today, the first time of his career where he missed back-to-back practices. But today was just a stomach bug. Reasonable for Lamar Jackson to miss practice. My stomach hurts.
Yeah.
So good to see that he's not out with some killer knee injury or anything that's going to be holding him back this week. But nice to see that. Mark Andrews was added to the injury report with a thigh issue and was practicing in a limited fashion, while Marquise Brown was a full participant and did lose his injury designation. Also practicing in full today, you got Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson ready to go this weekend and practicing full. Henry Ruggs is well practicing in full, while Darren Waller was limited for the Raiders. And then Cam Akers had his practice restrictions lifted,
that's nice.
letting you know that he is ready to go this weekend, meaning that the Rams backfield will again be a three-headed monster. And those Darrell Henderson owners, you may just want to take another look at that roster and see if that's your best play.
Mm-hmm.
Out of Seattle, we have Carlos Hyde limited again, while Chris Carson just practiced in full and lost his injury designation.
Beautiful.
For a group of people that aren't super hot on Chris Carson this season, I think it's going to be a pretty decent game for him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have the opportunity that we were afraid he wasn't going to. So if there was ever a time, it's time to go for him. Jared Cook was at practice today, finally, but again, someone who's limited. While Michael Thomas was limited again in practice, but with the Saints playing on Monday, this does still give him 2 chances to practice in full prior to Sunday to see if he might be able to get that Week 5 start, which is, again, something a lot of people are probably looking forward to.
Yeah. Hopefully he is able to get back out there on the field. Obviously, if you have him, you spent a high draft pick on him in that first round, potentially even top 5, top 6, depending on your scoring format and how hot you were on him prior to this season. So keep an eye out on that. Hopefully he can get back out on the field. That will help not only him, but it will help Drew Brees as well. Yeah, so get him back up there in that fantasy relevance.
Does him coming back hurt Alvin Kamara at all?
No. I mean, you're still going to get running back 1 numbers from Alvin Kamara. Maybe in the passing game a little bit. I think he had 9 or 10 targets last week. You may not get 9 or 10, but you're still going to get 7, 8, which is plenty in my book.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really think it only hurts Latavius Murray because I think Alvin Kamara is still going to get his work, but he's just not going to get overworked to the point where they need to drop the ball to Murray.
Yeah, I think the biggest person that hurts really is Traquan Smith. I mean, if you have him, obviously, and then I think it actually might help Jared Cook a little bit, having somebody else out there on the field. Obviously, Jared's been injured a little bit, but last year we saw he was getting a bunch of touchdowns, and that's really what carried him up into that, I believe, 6th or 7th spot, tight end last year. So I think that could open him back up, especially in the red zone with him getting back on the field and Michael Thomas on the field at the same time. I do think it could open him up in the red zone. So, but we'll see. I'm not playing Jared Cook this week, but we'll talk about that when we get to the Saints game. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the weekend round up, baby. We are going to go game by game, talk players that we like, don't like, such and stuff. So let's jump into it. Carolina at Atlanta.
Do you think this is a continuation of Teddy Bridgewater's big games like we saw last week?
Well, saying that I have him as a start of the week, John, I do.
That's true.
Yes, I do. So actually, I'm playing him in DFS. I got a really nice lineup. I got to show you later. But the game is over under 54 points, so they're thinking it's Vegas has it as a pretty high scoring game, and I think it is going to be as well. The Atlanta defense is just horrible against the pass, worst in the league, and that's one reason why I think Teddy Bridgewater, Robbie Anderson, and I know he hasn't had a great year, but DJ Moore, you're gonna play him this week at very minimum in the flex spot. I think this could be that opportunity for him to really get that momentum going. So I'm playing Mike Davis as well, especially while Christian McCaffrey's out. He has shown no reason not to. As for the rest of the offense, I'm not. I know Atlanta's not great against the tight end. I'm not really going to be playing Ian Thomas. I think there's better options out there. So those are the guys I'm definitely playing. John, do you differ on any of those?
I'm actually kind of hot on DJ Moore, but not super hot. I think that this is the week that he does kind of break out a little bit. What does scare me about the idea of the Falcons defense just being a punching bag for whatever team's playing against them is that they have been playing against some high-powered offenses the entire season. They've played against Dallas, Seattle, the Bears, and then the Packers. So take out the Bears on that high-powered offense chart. But so I think that the real reason I think their points are going to be a little inflated. The Panthers don't really have that same sort of firepower. Right. And I don't think you're going to be seeing the same kind of shootout that we have. But on that same note, I do think that Teddy Bridgewater has a pretty good game. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback, but I do think he's going to finish a quarterback 1. As well as I do think DJ Moore is able to get behind some of these corners. And I think Robbie Anderson's able to have a big game too. And like you were saying, I don't think Ian Thomas is the tight end that's going to be beating up on the Falcons defense just because of who they are. So I would say, yeah. Mike Davis, though, I think is someone who's going to have a really big role, especially in a PPR league because of that pass catching work.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's where the Falcons defense has been letting up a lot of their yardage.
Curtis Samuel, how do you feel about him? I mean, he hasn't done much.
You can't play him in any situation.
Okay, just wanted to double check that. Anybody on the Falcons? I mean, obviously you're going to be playing Matt Ryan. You know, if you have him, you're going to be playing Todd Gurley if you have him. Calvin Ridley. At that point, it kind of gets questionable. I mean, obviously Julio Jones didn't practice. Yeah, I don't think he's going to play this game. If he doesn't, I'm gonna play Russell Gage as well. You know, as long as he does not play, and I do think Hayden Hurst could potentially have a nice game here as well. At least something fantasy relevant in that 10 to 12 point range. But anybody you're fading on this team?
I'm actually fading Jones, and I don't think I'm comfortable playing Russell Gage this week. And part of that being that he hasn't been able to be productive without Julio Jones in the game. He hasn't been able to be productive with strong coverage against him. And you've seen Matt Ryan just throw the ball to players we haven't heard of so far this year. So realistically, if I'm playing anyone from this week, or from the Falcons this week, it's going to be Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, like you've mentioned, and then Calvin Ridley, just because he's Calvin Ridley. If you have him, you can't play him. Last week's not what you're going to be getting from him all the time. We do know he's limited, but still, you're going to play him.
Mm-hmm. You know who I think could have like a little bit of sneaky upside? If you were watching the Falcons game last week in the fourth quarter when they were trailing, it wasn't great, but Todd Gurley wasn't on the field. Brian Hill was. I think he could have a sneaky upside. He got in the end zone 2 weeks ago against Chicago. He's been, not heavily involved, but I do think he's somebody that, if you're super desperate, if you've got, for instance, Christian McCaffrey and Austin Eckler and your running backs, and you really just have to fill that flex spot because there's a ton of injuries, I do think Brian Hill could have a little bit of sneaky upside. I'm not guaranteeing anything at all, but I do think he has a little bit of sneaky upside there because they really showed last game that they're going to they're really trying to preserve Todd Gurley's knee for the long haul, and I did not like that. But in my opinion, I think he could has upside potentially. So, but
okay.
Yeah, I know it's weird. It's not bad. Listen,
I don't know.
It's not.
I don't
see
it. He got his second lowest snap percentage the entire year so far, off that one game, off of last week.
Oh yeah,
he only had 6 total touches.
Right. Well, I'm not saying he's not going to be. He's not the picture of consistency.
No,
whatsoever.
He's consistently trash.
Really. 2 weeks ago, he put up 15 points
off 2 touchdowns.
He put it up. I wouldn't say that's trash. I would not say that's trash. But anyways, moving on to the Bengals at Baltimore, or at the Ravens. How do you feel about Joe Burrow this week?
Again, even though they're playing against the Ravens defense, I do think Joe Burrow's going to be able to have a usable game. I don't think he's going to be good. He's definitely not going to win you your week, but he's still not someone that you're going to want to be searching the waivers for someone who's going to be putting up dud numbers anyways. I would still take the risk on him and just not hope for too much. As far as Lamar, though, I think this is going to be a Lamar week where he just balls out and does Lamar things.
Yes.
So Lamar's a must start, absolutely. Joe Burrow, start him if you got him. Don't DFS him. Don't go searching for him. But if you have him, he's playable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Burrow's playable. I think he'll give you, between like 15 to 12, quarterback 15 to 12 numbers or so. Low end 1, high end 2 numbers. Lamar Jackson, like you said, I think he's going to ball. Joe Mixon being added to the injury report, that does worry me a little bit, especially against that Ravens defense. He's coming off that huge game, but it does scare me. I don't know if I fully trust him. I'll flex him. I'll put him in my flex spot or use him as a running back too. If he's my running back 1, then it's a little scary for me. And then Mark, I guess really the Ravens backfield. Are you comfortable with either of those guys?
No, I'm less comfortable with this 3-headed monster than I am the one in
LA?
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I mean, they are all so talented. I would take any of these 3 running backs over possibly any of the 3 over there. But they just get too much work with Lamar Jackson being as mobile as he is. They just lose a lot of their opportunities. And they just keep seeming to move the ball to whoever's healthy and whoever's moving hot. So I've been staying away from them the entire season. And I think the only usable running back here is Joe Mixon, and that's out of pure necessity because you has the upside.
Right. Yeah, I would agree there. I'm staying away from this 3-headed monster as well. I do think, by the mid to later part of the season, it will clarify. We will be a little clearer. But at this point, I'm not playing anybody.
I really don't think it's ever going to clarify until this offseason when people move on.
I think it will. I really do. I think that they're going to have to. Their run game is not as potent as it was last year. Going back and forth. I know they're trying to feed the hot hand and whatnot, but I feel like last year they were just so feared in the run game, and this year that obviously people respect the run, and maybe they're just defenses are adjusting and whatnot. But when Mark Ingram was a sole back or the lead bell cow back, I think that offense was a lot scarier. So I do think that at some point this season, it will clarify. I do think that Marquise Brown could have a pretty solid week as well. I think this may be not one of those massive weeks for him, but maybe he gets behind the defense.
Yeah, I mean, he's extremely speedy, and this is the team to do it against. They are currently ranked 17th for points allowed to the receiver. So he hasn't been able to be huge yet this year, so we know he's talented enough, and it's going to be coming eventually. And them playing against Washington last week, we kind of saw a little bit from him that kind of just reminded you, like, hey, he is an asset. I think that this could be a really good week for him going against the Bengals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like him. Solid flex player with super high upside, obviously high-end wide receiver 1 upside because of those big plays that he can produce. Tyler Boyd, I'm starting. AJ Green, I'm benching. We said, earlier in this week, he's cuttable. I don't trust him whatsoever. And T. Higgins, if you really need a flex, you're desperate for a flex player.
Not this week.
I think you can flex him, but I'm not liking it if you have to. Again, there's so many people out there dealing with so many injuries that you might have to flex T. Higgins, and it's not something I want to do, but I do think he is flexible. He's gotten 6 or more targets in the past 3 games, and the last 2 he's really come on. Last week, putting up the highest total yardage, obviously against Jacksonville, but highest total yardage for himself at 77 yards. So I think he'll be flexible. I think he will get his targets. Just what can he do with those targets is the question.
I think he's gonna have a hard time getting open against that defense, and I think Burrow's gonna have a hard time reading him open. been wrong before, but no, I don't. I just don't see him being that super strong. I wouldn't even take the risk of flexing him this week. I would play Tyler Boyd though.
Oh yeah.
Just because the Ravens defense is scary, but Tyler Boyd's someone who's been consistent week in, week out. Number one receivers playing against the Ravens so far outside of the week 1 Browns game have been able to be relevant and been able to be useful. So it's not like they've been shutting them down. You're not finding a lot of success on those teams in those games. Last week we saw Terry McLaurin be useful and be pretty good. I just see Tyler Boyd being pretty much the only useful person here.
Mm-hmm. And then Mark Andrews must start, obviously, one of the better tight ends in the league, top 4. And then Drew Sample, are you playing him at all?
I don't want to play him. Again, that matchup scares me, but last week he got 5 targets for 47 yards. I mean, not terrible tight end numbers. If you're really desperate, he's an
upside guy.
He's an
He'll
upside.
get in the end zone.
He could. It's more of just you got to play someone, and it's better than some of your other options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jacksonville at Houston. Jags and the Texans. The quarterbacks there. I think Deshaun could have one of his more solid games this week. Gardner Minshew, though, how do you feel about him?
I think he's a top 10 quarterback this week.
Top 10. I do think you need to start him if you got him, unless you have Lamar or, obviously somebody much better. But I do think he's a solid start as well. Potentially, I mean, he's got the upside of it. I think with Chark back, and hopefully LaVisca plays, he has the weapons, and then he's got James Robinson out the backfield that he can pass to. So I do think he has that upside, and I do think, at least you're going to get at least high-end quarterback 2 numbers from him, I believe.
Yeah.
So play him with that upside. James Robinson, I'm playing as well. David Johnson, I'm playing, even though I don't want to, just because I don't like David Johnson on the season. But I do think that he is going to have a pretty solid game. My only concern, and I've voiced this before, is the impact that Duke Johnson has. Obviously, last week was the first week Duke Johnson was back, and he didn't put up great numbers. 11 in PPR league, so respectable, but he is currently sitting at running back 23 in PPR and running back 20 in standard. But I am playing him this week.
Duke Johnson?
No, David.
Oh,
Sorry.
Okay. No, I think both running backs are actually great starts. I think James Robinson's a must start almost week in, week out so far this season. You found high-end running back 1 numbers. Last week was his worst week of the season, but yet he was still a top 20 running back. So I think he's a must-start, especially going against the Houston defense, who's been letting up points out the butt. And then David Johnson, I think, is going to be a really strong start as well. Currently, Jacksonville's rated. Actually, I lost him. 24th most points allowed. No, I'm sorry, 8th most points allowed. Allowed to the running back going against Houston there. And so I think that David Johnson's going to have a pretty solid week here. You saw that even when he was playing against Kansas City before Duke Johnson went out, he was still getting a lot of touches against that defense and was actually being really efficient before he was forced to be fed the ball. It wasn't just the fact that Duke Johnson was there. So I like David Johnson this week. Again, Duke Johnson could be like I'd play Duke Johnson over T. Higgins.
Duke Johnson over T. Higgins, wow. Yeah.
I think T. Higgins is going to be a trash day. But realistically, I think that the running back situation there, you're looking at both of those running backs having playable weeks. You're not going to be sitting either of them unless you have much better options. As far as the receivers go, must start DJ Chark. My opinion, must start Will Fuller. I think he's going to ball out this week.
Both of them are going to be wide receiver 1s this week.
I think if you have Brandon Cooks, this might be a week where he's relevant, not amazing, as well as Randall Cobb could have a big catch or 2. Both Jags cornerbacks are out, meaning that you're going to be playing their second strings, which is why I think Deshaun Watson's going to have a good week too. But I think that DJ Chark and LaVisca, if LaVisca plays as a solid flex, DJ Chark an easy wide receiver 2 plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with with Jordan Akins out, I think the Darren Fells play. If you're very, very desperate, he's got in the end zone a good amount last year. That's really what ups his game. And with Akins out and Will Fuller as the only other bigger target on that team. Fells could find the end zone this week, so you're really, we're talking really desperate. I'd play Drew Sample over Fells, but if you do need somebody that might get in the end zone, Darren Fells is that guy. And I'm not playing any of the Jags tight ends. So Raiders at the Chiefs. Going to be an interesting game. I believe Kansas City. Las Vegas has them at over under 55.5, which is, I believe, the second highest this week. So they're obviously predicting it's going to be a high-scoring game. Henry Ruggs is going to be back this week for the Raiders. Patrick Mahomes, obvious must start. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, obvious must start. Tyreek Hill, obviously you're playing him. And then, of course, Travis Kelce. So any of those other offensive weapons are you interested in this week?
Did you say Clyde Edwards? Clyde Edwards was a must start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure. No, Tyreek Hill. Mecole has some. I think Mecole has some interesting upside. I think that last week he was able to get in the end zone. The week before that he was able to get in the end zone. I think he's gonna start seeing more of a consistent, even though it's not going to be highly productive. Just targets.
Trying to get him involved.
Just starting to get him into that offense a little bit more. As far as Kansas City, I mean, that's pretty much it. Their whole offense is a must-start minus their second-string receiver who could be a good flex play.
Yeah.
But when you move over to the Las Vegas Raiders, are you going to play Derek Carr?
Ooh.
Would you stream?
Would I stream Derek Carr? Oh man, I don't like this question.
You've got Tannehill, Cam Newton on the bench because you got Tannehill and Cam Newton on your roster and Josh Allen. That game doesn't go through. Who are you playing? Would you pick up Derek Carr and be comfortable with those?
I would. I'd probably pick up Jared Goff because I know he's available in a few leagues. Just because I feel a little bit more comfortable with that play. But I mean, if I'm in a pinch, I wouldn't mind playing Derek Carr. He's getting Henry Ruggs back, like I said, so another offensive weapon back to his arsenal. So I'm not going to like it, but I will if I'm in a pinch like that. If I do have to, if Tannehill doesn't play or Josh Allen doesn't play, then yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to like it, but I will play him. But if Jared Goff's out there, go pick him up and play him instead.
Yeah, I think Jared Goff's going to have a good week, but we'll get there.
Yeah. So I lost my page.
So no. Derek Carr, I don't think you start Derek Carr even in a flex or even as a stream. I think you can find someone better, like you just said. Jared Goff would be a great pickup. Josh Jacobs, I think, is an easy play this week with just Darren Waller being limited. Hunter Renfrow didn't look too hot last week. Henry Ruggs is coming back this week, but Bryan Edwards is still out, and Henry Ruggs really hasn't been too much for anyone yet. He has only gotten 8 targets and 4 catches, so I don't think that he's bringing too much to that offense. So I'm kind of hot on Josh Jacobs this week. I think he's just going to be used a lot, especially if the game turns into being just Kansas City destroying them. They're just going to run Josh Jacobs anyways, which is what they do on the norm. So I like Josh Jacobs. Other than that, I'm really not super hot on anyone's. You can flex.
I don't even think you can flex Renfrow with Ruggs back.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be touching any of their receivers.
Yeah, I like Jacobs a lot this year, or this week. I'm sorry. The Chiefs have been allowing 4.99 yards a carry, which is the 6th most in the league. Already given up 540 yards 489 yards on the ground, which is the 6th most as well. So Josh Jacobs is in for a pretty solid day, potentially a bounce back day for him.
Yeah, absolutely, especially after that kind of slow week 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Arizona at New York, playing the Jets. Kyler Murray, you're playing. Kenyon Drake, potentially. He doesn't have that chest injury that he suffered in Sunday in the Sunday game. So I do think this could potentially be a bounce back week for him. Like we were talking about a little bit earlier, I like Chase Edmonds as well. I think I would flex him. He was getting a little bit more involved last week. Got a total of 6 targets, 5 receptions, and he also got in the end zone. So I do like his use there. Obviously, the Jets are not a great defense. Currently allowed the 7th most points to the running. I'm sorry. Have allowed the 8th most points. Ninth most points. They've allowed a lot of points to the running back position. So, I do like Edmonds this week a little bit. He is intriguing, and I would put him in as a upside guy. And then I love D-Hop. I love D-Hop this week. I think that he's going to have a monster week, top 4 receiver this week. So I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think that you're kind of right there. Kyler Murray, obvious must start. Kenyon Drake. I think we're going to see the Cardinals start fading away from Drake and opening into more of a committee role. I don't think you're just going to see so much pure work coming from Drake. So I think, personally, I have to start Chase Edmonds in the league just out of necessity, and I think it's actually the week to start doing that or just take the risk on it. Don't expect anything huge from it. As far as the receivers go, DeAndre Hopkins is going to ball regardless. Maybe some Christian Kirk action. I think I liked him in week 4. Luckily for my sake, he was relevant in a PPR league because he found the end zone. Only got 5 targets, but could be a sneaky flex. Could, if the Jets are really just manning up D-Hop, they're going to have to toss it out somewhere. Don't know what's going to go on there. But realistically, I really like Jamison Crowder.
Oh yeah.
I know we were really hot on picking him up as a late round steal in the draft this year. But someone who, in the 2 games that he's played, has gotten 23 targets.
Love it. And he's going to. Even with Flacco there, nobody else is really doing much. Denzel Mims
hasn't been in.
Nope.
Perryman's still hurt. We found out some guy named Jeff Smith is playing wide receiver for the Jets this year.
He owns a sub shop, right?
No, it's John Smith. But no, even Jeff Smith was able to get 9 targets for 81 yards last week playing against Denver. Possibly a better Thursday night game than what we had this week. Do you like the idea of playing Flacco?
No.
Not at all?
Nope. Okay. Out of necessity, I will play him. Okay, it's embarrassing. I took over a Dynasty orphan team, Superflex League, and he's literally my only quarterback that was available to play other than Teddy Bridgewater, who I'm playing. So,
okay.
I'm
let it happen.
Rolling Flacco out there, and maybe he comes down, but I am not feeling comfortable whatsoever. Le'Veon Bell, like we talked about earlier, I'm not comfortable with it. If you're needy, you can play him because it is a pretty good matchup for him. But I don't think that he's going to be getting, he wasn't getting a ton of usage before the injury. I don't think he's going to get a ton of usage this week.
He's a sneaky flex play. He could be useful if you really have necessity. Solid flex, but don't trust him as Le'Veon Bell and expect Le'Veon from him.
Mm-hmm. Eagles at Steelers.
Taking the Steelers.
Me too. Both quarterbacks scare me.
Really, both?
Both. Mm-hmm. These defenses, the Eagles' defense has been pretty sneakily good against the pass. So I am a little bit worried, especially with Juju and Deontay banged up as well. I know that they were back at practice today, so they both scare me. I'm going to play Ben over Carson.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. Even though Carson did, kind of revive last week and put up decent numbers
against the practice squad from San Francisco.
Hey, he put him up though. It's fine. James Conner must start. Juju and Deontay, what are you doing with them?
I'm playing both of them. I honestly like the matchup here going against the Eagles. I think they're someone that Ben's not going to have a problem destroying and cutting up. Like you just mentioned, they have been sneakily good, ranking 9th best against the quarterback. So I just don't think that I think it's been their matchups more rather than the actual players they've been playing against. Last week they were playing Nick Mullins, and they had that changeover. Weeks prior they played Cincinnati, the Rams, and then Washington. So it's not like they've been playing against any great quarterbacks. And
I would say Jared Goff.
Jared Goff's a good quarterback. He's not great.
I don't think Ben's great though.
You don't think? Stop.
Not right now. He's not.
Really?
He's not Ben. Yeah, he's not great.
You said that about Aaron Rodgers before the season too.
I did, and I'm proven wrong. But I'm not wrong about this. And
We'll
then Eric Ebron, I do think he's going to be a solid play this week as well. Wasn't he one of your starts of the week?
No. Oh yeah, actually, yeah.
I was about to say.
Yeah, it was. Sorry.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Look at me like I'm crazy. Miles Sanders, what are you doing with him?
I'm sneakily not playing him this week.
Really?
He kind of scares me. Last week was kind of a dud for him. Was kind of somewhat hopeful, but the Steelers do rank third best against the running back. They do have an amazing defense. That offensive line in Philadelphia is disgusting. As much as I love Miles Sanders, I just think it's the situation he is in right now that's just not working for him. There could be some upside there. If I don't have a better play, I'd be happy to play him. But I'm not expecting a huge week from him at all. I'm
putting him in a flex spot, but that's I'm only expecting flex numbers. I'm not expecting anything big unless he breaks off a run. I'll put him in my flex spot, but it's that against that defense it scares me. And none of the Eagles receivers I'm playing. Zach Ertz I'm playing.
Really, I think I'd play Greg Ward this week, just as like a flex, and only is that just mainly do on target opportunity. The limited amount of receivers they have. And then the possibility that he does end up in the end zone, especially when the Steelers do lock down the run so much, and they haven't been as strong in the past. So they've currently ranked 25th worst or 25th best. So I do think that Greg Ward's someone who, again, not someone who's going to be high upside, but does have usage as a flex.
Yeah, I mean, he totally could, but I just don't like that. I don't like that those receivers. But I do think Zach Ertz is going to have a pretty solid week. The Rams at the Washington football team. Kyle Allen starting as quarterback, not playing him. Antonio Gibson, though, I like this matchup. I do think that Kyle Allen, he just came from the Carolina Panthers. They were dumping the ball off a ton last year to the running back. This could be a week that Antonio Gibson, I know he had a very, very solid week last week, but I do think that he's in for another solid week as well, especially getting involved in that pass game. And then Terry McLaurin, you're definitely playing him. How do you feel about Logan Thomas?
I feel like I'm still scared of playing him.
Yeah.
He's getting targets but not doing anything with them. Even in this matchup, I don't think I'm going to be playing him.
Same. I think there's better options out there. Eric Ebron, i.e. Jared Goff, I do think he's going to have a solid week like we were talking about a little bit earlier. I will play him. The backfield, I'll play Darrell Henderson. I know Cam Akers is back, but I do think that Darrell Henderson is still going to see the majority of the work. He didn't look great last week, but if I have to play any of these guys, it's going to be Darrell this week. After this week, I think I'm done with the Rams backfield.
Again, I'm done with their backfield now unless I have to play one of them, and then if I had to play, it would be Darrell.
We have to play Darrell.
No, I thought we were talking about trading or moving something around so we don't have to do that now.
Well, yeah, if the trade goes through.
Yeah, so personally, I just don't trust him. I don't think it's going to be a big game from him, but I do think he's going to have a floor that's usable out of pure necessity due to either bye week or injuries that you have coming up. Mm-hmm. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, absolute must starts in my opinion. Think they're at least going to be wide receiver 2 flexible numbers, possibly with wide receiver 1 upside. So I think you're going to want to get them on your field. And then Tyler Higbee, I think usable, but not a high end tight end this week. I think he's going to be possibly like a 8 to 12. I don't think he's going to find himself in the top 6, but I don't think you're definitely not someone you're going to want to stream away from, but does have some upside, especially in this matchup.
Yeah, out of necessity, I'll play him, but I'm not going to like it. Obviously he had that massive three touchdown week, but he just hasn't seen the targets like we thought he would. So I'll play him. But like I said, it's not going to be something I'm looking forward to. Miami at San Fran. Ryan Fitzpatrick getting on a short leash. Did put up nice numbers the past couple weeks. So fantasy wise, at least put up over 300 yards, which is nice. And then Jimmy G. Hopefully he's back. Hopefully he's back for you, John.
Hopefully, because I really need that quarterback start. Do you think Fitzpatrick's going to be benched this week?
No, I don't think he'll be benched this week. I think he's on a short leash though. If he puts up a dud, if he loses the game for the Dolphins, or does something like he did last week where he didn't win them the game, then I do think that it could be Tua time potentially. Especially, rumblings are starting and stuff like that. For Brian Flores to come out and say, all right, we haven't decided, and then it's, okay, Ryan Fitzpatrick is our quarterback this week. That's kind of how it starts. So short lease for him. I'm playing him as a quarterback too, super flex league. Not really expecting too much more than that. Jimmy G though, if he plays, if he's fully healthy with Debo back, George Kittle there, Brandon Ayuk coming out and showing that he can ball, that hurdle last week. Woo. And then his pass catching backs, I think that Jimmy Garoppolo could be in for a pretty solid fantasy finish.
Yeah, I'm definitely playing Jimmy G if he comes back this week. Raheem Mostert, if he comes back, I'm flexing him. Maybe running back 2 out of necessity for him. I'm not expecting what he was doing before he got injured, but it only takes a handful of touches out of that backfield. So you do want to play him at least as a flex if you have him on your roster, if he does come back healthy, in my opinion. And if he doesn't come back, Jerick McKinnon's a must-start in all situations. Even
if he does, I love Jerick McKinnon this week. I think that Mostert's going to be on like more of a snap count. And he's actually one of my starts of the week. So I think that Raheem will be on they're very, very similar in the fact that they can make a big play out of, one touch. And I do think that McKinnon will get the majority this week. Then next week it'll probably go back over to Mostert. But with the matchup, I love McKinnon.
I think Myles Gaskin does have some relevance as long as you're playing in a PPR league. He does continue to get those pass-catching opportunities. Last week, still on a low end for him, getting 5 targets and 3 catches. So I do think he's going to be a solid flex play for you there again. Out of the rest of that backfield, Jordan Howard, Matt Breida, not touching them, obviously. Then going over to the San Francisco or the Dolphins receivers, Devontae Parker, I think is someone who you're going to be playing this week. Currently an absolute stud. I mean, in a PPR league, wide receiver 19. So someone that's been consistently pretty good. And as long as he's been playing, been doing really well. How do you like the idea of Isaiah Ford, someone who got 10 targets last week and in week 2 got 9 targets?
Yeah, he's been more and more involved, especially with Preston Williams not doing what
everyone expected.
Yeah, so I do think that he is an intriguing flex option this week. He is. I think he's jumped Preston and is that wide receiver too. So I wouldn't mind flexing him, to be honest, with all that target share he's been getting.
Yeah, I'm not scared to flex him, but
and if he's on your waiver, go pick him up.
Yeah, as far as the receivers for San Francisco go, I'm like we said earlier, I'm not playing Debo unless it's as a flex. I'm not starting him in that 1 or 2 spot. Ayuk, same in situation. I trust them about the same this week. The rest of the receivers are going to be a no play for me. Kittle must start, and Gesicki, if you got him as a tight end, you've got him to play him.
Yeah. I do like. I will flex Debo. I'm actually flexing him this week. I do think that as long as if Jimmy G's back, I think he could have a pretty solid week. But I'll put him in my flex position. Brandon Ayuk, I'm staying away from. I do think that with Debo back, that'll hurt him. Obviously, Kittle is a must start, and Gesicki, I will play him out of necessity, especially against that defense. Indianapolis at Cleveland. Browns been looking good. They've been running the ball like crazy. I'm playing Kareem Hunt. Baker Mayfield, though. What are you doing with him?
In this matchup, I might play him. You're not streaming him. In most situations, it's going to be a quarterback 2 kind of league where you've been taking the option to play him. So if you've got him and you don't have a better option, I'm not playing Kyle Allen over him. So there's situations where you'd play him, but I'm not hot on him at all. I don't think it's going to be a huge game for him. But I do think Phillip Rivers might have a decent game.
Really?
Really. I do think that the Browns defense is going to allow a decent amount of passing yards as well as some rushing yards. I do think there's going to be a lot of yards moving, the ball moving down the field. I don't think there's going to be a lot of big breakaway touchdowns. So I do think that Phillip Rivers is going to have some high-end quarterback 2 numbers, not breaking into those ones because he just doesn't know how to do that. But I do think that the running backs are some people that are really going to thrive this week. The Browns, like you said, have been finding that hot route or that hot streak going, and that's been on the backs of their running backs. And with Kareem Hunt leading the backfield this week and Nick Chubb out, I think Kareem Hunt's going to be an absolute monster. Even though he's been limited with that groin issue, he did have that limitation last week, and it didn't seem to hurt him too much. And then Jonathan Taylor. Is Jonathan Taylor an absolute stud? I think he's a playable running back 2, high-end flex for you, but definitely someone you're going to want to play.
Yeah, 100% agree. Baker, in my opinion, I'm finding somebody else to start. I would start Phillip Rivers over him. The Colts have been great against the quarterbacks, but if somebody else is out there on your wire, go pick him up. Teddy B's only owned in 30.7% of leagues, so see if he's on your waiver. Kareem Hunt definitely playing. Jonathan Taylor for sure playing. D'Ernest Johnson, I'm going to fade him this week. I know people are saying that he's going to get that Nick Chubb work, but I don't think that's going to be the fact. I know he did at the end of last game when Chubb went down, but I think that was just more
game script.
So I'm not going to play him at all. Jonathan Taylor, I love. I just hope they can get him involved a little bit more than he has been. Staying away from the Colts receivers. I wish Paris Campbell was there. And then I'm going to play Odell Beckham. And I would flex Jarvis Landry. I liked what he did last week. Got that passing touchdown. So maybe he'll pass another one. Who knows? And then I'm not playing really any of these tight ends, to be honest.
No, yeah, I'm staying away from the tight ends. The receivers in this matchup kind of scare me a little bit. OBJ's playable. I think you're going to want to stay away from T.Y., Zach Pascal, the entire group there. And then, like you said, Jarvis Landry is solid flex, in my opinion, week in, week out. Everyone else, just stay away from.
Mm-hmm. The Giants, they're going to Jerry's World. They're going to Dallas. Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott, they're playing each other. I kind of like Daniel Jones as a sneaky play this week. I'd play him over. I think he does have high-end quarterback 2 numbers, potentially low-end quarterback 1. This could be the week that offense somehow gets going against that Dallas Cowboys defense. Xavier Woods came out and said, did you see that article? Mm-hmm. He came out and said that, of course, he doesn't give it 100%. Pretty much what he's saying is he doesn't give it 100% each play, and not everybody in the NFL does, and that's why their defense has been struggling. So not something I would say personally if I'm employed by a football team.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I don't love Daniel Jones this week. I don't think he's going to be a really great start, but I do think he could be a sneaky stream for you that's going to keep you playable this week. He played against Dallas twice last year and looked absolute doo-doo both times.
Yeah.
It is a different Dallas defense, but it also is a different New York Giants offensive line. Without Saquon Barkley there, you kind of limit your opportunities and what you're able to do with that offense. But I do think he has a better game than he's been having. I think you're going to be staying away from Devonta Freeman, Dion Lewis, Wayne Gallman, basically due to that offensive line issue you have there. Zeke Elliott, obviously a must start. And then Dak Prescott, I think, is a must start in this situation. Definitely don't want to be benching your high-powered quarterback with a high-powered offense against the New York Giants defense.
Yeah. The receiver, I agree there. The receivers, Darius Slayton, I think, is in for a big week for them. And then, I will play or flex all 3 wide receivers there: Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, or CeeDee Lamb. I don't think that it's going to be predictable, who does it, but I do think they'll put up at least flexible numbers. Obviously, Amari's going to put up solid numbers. I do think that I know Dalton Schultz is a little banged up, but he could have a pretty solid week as well. I am definitely playing him.
Yeah, Slayton's a must start in my opinion. I think that if Daniel Jones does have any sort of success this week, it's going to be with him. As far as Amari Cooper, Gallup, and Lamb, I'm starting Cooper, starting Lamb, and possibly flexing Gallup if you have to.
Yeah. So, and then Evan Ingram, I think he's pretty interesting this week. I know he hasn't been doing much, but I do think that against this defense, he could potentially have that first real Evan Ingram game. So hopefully,
So he's gonna get hurt.
Yeah. No, we don't want to say
We don't
that.
wish injuries on anyone, but we predict them.
I will play that. I will play him this week. Vikings going to Seattle. We were talking about it a little earlier. I think that this game is going to be a little bit more of a pass heavy for the Vikings than we're used to. Especially against that Seattle defense or secondary, who's been allowing a lot of points to the wide receiver and the quarterback. So I do think Kirk Cousins is a pretty good start. Out of necessity, if you have those Tannehill, Josh Allen quarterbacks who may not play, it'd be great to pick him up and name him as your backup. Russell Wilson, obvious must start. I mean,
week in, week out, absolutely.
Yeah. Same with these running backs, Carson and Dalvin Cook. You're playing both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, two great names. Play them. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. You're playing those. Outside of that, I'm not playing any of those other receivers. And then the only tight end I'd consider playing and actually am playing is Greg Olsen. He's been getting some targets these last few weeks, and I think against his Vikings defense, he could see the same amount of targets or similar.
I think he's going to be like a streamable tight end. That's not going to.
Yeah, he's not tight end one. But
again, Lockett and Metcalf, the only startable receivers out of Seattle, and then obviously Thielen. I think someone who could be a top 5 receiver this week. I do think he's going to have a really good week, and then Justin Jefferson's going to continue to be pretty decent, showing out as that rookie. But coming out of Denver going to the Patriots this week, a little scary there for Belichick going against Brett Ripien and Jeff Driscoll. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that you're going to be playing any of the quarterbacks in this game.
Nope.
At all, just because at any point they could be coming out and the person underneath them could be coming right up. I do like Melvin Gordon this week, though, as well as James White, just because of their pass-catching opportunity. Melvin Gordon's been on a hot streak, and even though Phillip Lindsay's coming back, I don't think that it's going to turn into anything huge.
Are you playing Damian Harris? A lot of people are hot on him coming off that 17-touch game.
No. Damian Harris does not have that pass-catching upside, but with James White, Rex Burkhead, Damian Harris there, as well as JJ, I think you're going to be just too many people to feed. It's going to be completely unpredictable still. It's going to take more than 1 week of being useful in the New England offense as a running back for me to be able to comfortably play you, unless you're James White this year.
Yep, 100% agree there. Melvin Gordon, James White, the only running backs in this game I'm playing. And to be honest, both receivers or both sets of receivers, it's a little worrisome for me. Julian Edelman, he has been banged up this week with that knee injury. And with the game being moved to Monday, I mean, it gives him a little bit of extra time, but it does worry me. With Cam out, I don't think I'm playing him this week, to be honest. I don't want to take that chance. Jerry Jeudy, love him, but I'm not going to play him either.
Really? I'd actually comfortably play Jeudy as a flex, possibly even Tim Patrick as a flex. I think they're both going to be, I think that they're going to at least find some relevancy. And Judy's talented enough, and Tim Patrick gets enough of the receptions to where they could be a flex a usable flex. Obviously, not expecting huge numbers from him, but with Stephon Gilmore not playing either this week, that is something that you're going to want to keep in mind. So
I do think Patrick. I would flex Patrick over Jeudy.
I play them both over T. Higgins.
I don't know. I mean, I would play Tim Patrick over T. Higgins. I don't know about Jeudy. I don't like his matchup.
As far as the tight ends out of this game, you're not going to want to be playing any of them. Between Jake Butt, Ryan Izzo, and whoever else New England decides to line up there, none of them are going to be predictable or comfortable enough for you to put on that lineup and start them.
Yeah, agreed. 100% agreed. Chargers going into New Orleans.
The Drew Brees revenge game.
Yeah, I think I'd be comfortable playing both of these quarterbacks, to be honest. Actually, would you play Justin Herbert or Drew Brees if you had both?
I'm playing Drew Brees if I had both. Just because he finds someone, even Drew Brees is able to find pass catching upside in his running back. And he has possibly, especially if Michael Thomas is back this week, I'm definitely taking Breeze.
If Michael Thomas is back, then definitely Breeze. I'd agree there. But if he's not, I might actually lean Herbert this week. Josh Kelly, Justin Jackson, what are you doing there? Who are you playing? And what kind of angle are you going at?
I'm uncomfortably playing Josh Kelly in a standard league.
A lot of people have to.
Yeah, uncomfortably playing him out of necessity, and that at most that. Justin Jackson, again, only out of necessity on some upside hope that him coming into this week is going to do something, and that's if I have some bye weeks and injuries hurting me. As far as the running backs out of New Orleans, I'm starting Alvin Kamara without question, and then I might even look at Latavius Murray over someone possibly more usable than Justin Jackson.
Yeah, potentially. He did get a solid workload last week, 16 touches. He had 13 the week before that, so he's getting the touches. And against this defense, potentially he could put up decent numbers. They're pretty good against the run, but that 1-2 punch with him and Kamara could open him up a little bit. So I wouldn't expect big numbers, but potential flex there. The receivers, Keenan Allen, I'm not playing anybody else on that Chargers receiving core. And then of course, if Michael Thomas plays, I'm playing him. Would you play Traquan Smith if Michael Thomas doesn't play?
If he doesn't play, yeah, I'd play Traquan Smith. I think that he's been pretty decent. I don't expect him to find the end zone twice again.
Nope.
But I do think that he's going to have enough catches and yards to be able to be usable.
And what about if he does not play, Michael Thomas?
If Michael Thomas does play?
If Michael Thomas does play. Sorry.
If Michael Thomas does play, I might still contemplate using him as a flex. It's possible that with the time that Thomas has been out, him and Breeze have been able to form some sort of connection, and they've been able to find a role for him in that offense, especially being the fact that he's not a rookie. He's been there for a little bit, and they've been trying to get him in that situation. I'm just not sure if this Chargers defense is the one to do it against.
Yeah. I don't think if Michael Thomas does play, I don't think I'm going to play Traquan. The Jared Cook, he's been banged up. I don't know if I'm going to I wouldn't play him. I'd play Hunter Henry over him. I think Hunter
Henry's going to have a huge game.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a really good game this week. So I'm definitely playing Henry, and then I'm trying to find another option for Jared Cook if I can. And then finally, Tuesday football, hopefully. The Buffalo Bills are going to Tennessee. Tennessee Titans. I'm playing both quarterbacks if you got them, as long as they're playing. And then I'm playing Derrick Henry, of course. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. So it's pretty interesting. I'd flex. I think I'd flex. Oh, this is difficult. I'd definitely flex Singletary, and then if I had to, potentially Zach Moss, but it really worries me coming off that toe injury. I don't know how involved he's really going to be, if he is at all. So I'm trying to find another option if possible. I know people are going off, he had that good week one, but with that toe injury, I'm gonna try to find another option if possible.
Obviously, I'm playing Devin Singletary. The Titans have allowed the 27th most points to the running back, and I do think that especially if Zach Moss is out, Devin Singletary is just going to find usage on necessity. He's been able to get a little pass catching work without Zach Moss there, and even with him there, he's been a little bit relevant. But I obviously you're going to must start Derrick Henry. As far as the receivers go, Stephon Diggs must start for me. If John Brown's fully healthy and doesn't carry any more calf designation injury going into Tuesday, I'm playing John Brown, Cole Beasley, sneaky flex. A.J. Brown, I know it wasn't noted in the news because I didn't put it in there, but he was virtually assigned a limited tag for the practice that they did not have today.
Mm-hmm. I know last week before they were supposed to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, they weren't going to play A.J. Brown, but said that he could have played then if he needed to. So given that extra week off, I do think he will play if they play. Fire him up, put him in, at least expect, I'd say, flexible numbers from him. And then Jonnu Smith, I think he's in for a pretty big game as well.
Yeah, so that's all of our games this weekend. That should be a really exciting week 5. I know the over-unders are really high for a lot of the games to the point to where we're contemplating hammering a lot of these unders. But hopefully a really high-scoring week. We love to see high-scoring weeks and put a lot of points on the board, especially when those points are on your side of the scoreboard. But thank you guys for coming out. Really enjoyed it. You want to get into this beer?
Oh, let's get into the beer today, baby. It's a very good one. Very, very good. Like I said, like we said, this is the Scattered Sun. It is a classic Belgian style wit beer out of Savannah, Georgia, from Southbound Brewing Company. We've had them on the show before. Just to give you a quick little background, if you didn't listen to that show, they were opened in 2013 up there in Savannah. And they're very music oriented. I guess the owners are very into that music and whatnot lifestyle. So that's kind of where they get their inspiration from. They said they like to have beer paired with music and good times with friends and stuff like that. So check out their website, southboundbrewingco.com. You can check out get their address online to see exactly where they're located if you're in the Savannah area, and where their tap room is located. You can also check out their events, and they even have a little store you can shop there. So pick up some merch and whatnot. Overall, the can art's pretty dope. It's a sun, kind of getting that from the name, but with a cool little face on it. Got that golden rim, as well as like a light yellowy rays coming off from that sun. So pretty good beer overall. Actually, probably one of my favorite we've had on the show.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah.
No, I really did enjoy this one. That's why I wanted to bring it back to us, especially when I went and visited them. I did also really enjoy this beer. Very, very nice and cool and refreshing without being too much on the back end. It is a 5.6 ABV as well as a 15 IBU. Like I mentioned, refreshing, not too bitter, kind of sweet. Very nice little citrus taste as well. It is brewed with the Magnium and Saaz hops, and then malted with coriander and citrus to help give it a nice little orange peel flavor with a little bit of citrus. An orange smell with a little bit of citrus flavor. That wit beer just makes it nice, smooth, a little bit of sweetness to it, citrusy flavors. I did really enjoy this. Very crisp, very clean. Definitely something that I wish they were closer because I want to pick more up.
Yeah.
But definitely something, if you guys are anywhere near that Savannah area, check out their brewery. Like we said, this is our second time we've had them on, and both their beers have been absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Personally, I think I'm going to give this one, I guess, 7.4.
Wow, that's. I'm going to give it an 8.8. I really enjoyed this one a lot, especially it kind of warmed up there at the end, but being that we were sitting here for over an hour, but right when we cracked it and came out of the fridge, it was it's a good beer, and I am into those Belgian styles a lot, so an 8.8 for me. Very good. Very good. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, John, you want to tell them where they can find us?
Yeah, on Apple Podcasts. Now, you guys can find us, and any if you guys ever want to send us any of your guys' fantasy football question, your beer advice, recommendations, anything like that, on social media, it's going to be at The Fantasy Tap. And if you guys want to hit us up through our email, it's going to be thefantasytap@gmail.com. Make sure to send us whatever you guys got. Also, make sure to tune in on Sunday for our live stream where we will be doing all of our news updates, last-minute start sits, as well as just filling you guys in on any sort of information that you could ask for, responding to you guys really actively and with whatever you need.
Yeah. Hit us or tune in, IG Live or Instagram Live as well as Twitter Live. We will be there, guys. Anyways, have a great weekend. Enjoy football. Get them dubs. We love y'all.